My dear friends, life gets loud sometimes, not just outside, but inside too. Thoughts racing, opinions clashing, plans shifting. It's like 100 instruments playing at once, all out of tune. You could be doing everything you think you're supposed to do, working hard, staying busy, chasing goals, yet somehow it still feels like noise. No matter how loud your effort is, if your heart isn't aligned with your direction, it just doesn't feel right. That frustration, that exhaustion, it's not always about doing too much. Sometimes, it's about doing too many things that don't match who you really are. And that's the moment you have to stop and ask yourself, not just am I doing enough, but am I aligned with what actually matters to me? Because when your spirit is at war with your schedule, peace is the first thing that disappears. But something powerful happens when alignment steps in. It's like suddenly, all that noise turns into a melody. The chaos doesn't necessarily vanish, but it starts to make sense. Your time begins to serve your purpose. Your energy starts flowing towards something that feels meaningful. It's not about being perfect, and it's definitely not about having all the answers. It's about tuning your inner world to the truth of who you are and what you're called to do. When your actions reflect your values, when your mission lines up with your mindset, there's a clarity that enters your life so softly and yet so powerfully, it's almost sacred. You no longer feel like you're shouting into the void. Instead, you're singing a note that fits right where it belongs. Alignment doesn't remove the challenges, but it gives them rhythm. And suddenly, even your struggles feel like part of a larger song. Think about the people who seem most fulfilled, not just successful, but deeply, inwardly alive. They're not the ones doing everything. They're the ones doing the right things in the right way, with the right people. They've said no to what doesn't fit, so they can say yes to what fuels them. That's the quiet power of alignment. It removes the noise of obligation and replaces it with the music of intention. It gives you permission to stop pretending, to stop pleasing, and to start living. You don't need louder applause. You need deeper agreement between your heart and your habits. And once you get that, you walk lighter. Your mind stops racing because your soul finally says, yes, this is where I'm meant to be. That kind of peace can't be bought or borrowed. It only comes when you stop trying to be everything and start becoming yourself. And maybe that's where the miracle is, not in more effort, not in more noise, but in less friction. You don't have to force harmony when everything is in tune. Just like an orchestra doesn't need every instrument to play louder. It just needs them to play together. That's alignment. Your goals, your beliefs, your relationships, your faith, all moving in one direction. No more pulling yourself in 10 directions just to keep up appearances. You find your frequency and you live there. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. Because when alignment takes over, life becomes something you're not just surviving. You're creating it, shaping it, and singing it in your own key. And that, my friend, is where noise becomes harmony, and where your soul finally breathes. You know, there's this silent lie the world tries to sell us, that if we just go off on our own, figure it all out by ourselves, somehow we'll find the answers. We're told, be strong, don't depend on anyone, walk your path alone. But the truth is, isolation may give us quiet, but it doesn't give us clarity. It gives us silence, but not direction. You can sit in the stillest room, away from the world, and still feel lost. Because clarity doesn't come just from solitude. It comes from connection, from people who see what you can't see, from voices that remind you who you are when your own voice gets shaky. We were never designed to walk alone. The pieces don't make sense in isolation, but when you link arms with someone who believes in your purpose, suddenly the puzzle begins to take shape. You see, there's a kind of light that only shines when hearts stand together. The path may still be difficult, but it becomes visible. That's the magic of unity. When you're surrounded by people who share your values, who amplify your truth, who don't compete with you but complete the picture, you begin to walk with confidence. That's not weakness, that's wisdom, because sometimes the answers don't live inside your head. They live inside a conversation, inside a connection, inside a moment when someone else's perspective unlocks something in you. Clarity grows in the soil of trust, collaboration, and shared belief. And when you're aligned with others in mission, you don't just see the road. You feel the strength to keep walking it, even when it's steep. Think about the times in your life when you truly felt alive, sure, and unshakable. I'll bet it wasn't when you were alone in a room, trying to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. I'll bet it was when you were shoulder to shoulder with someone who got it. Who got you, because when we walk together, our burdens divide and our clarity multiplies. You hear things you never would have thought on your own. You see your dreams reflected in someone else's eyes. That synergy, that sacred, undeniable connection, is where the fog begins to lift. Not because the situation changes, but because you're no longer walking in it alone. And in that unity, the impossible begins to feel a little more possible. The confusing becomes clearer, the fear starts to fade. We don't find clarity by locking ourselves away until we have all the answers. We find it by walking beside people who give us permission to be real, to wrestle with the unknown, and to grow through it, not just go through it. You're not weak for needing others. You're wise for seeking alignment. So don't wait for life to get quiet. Don't wait for everything to make sense in isolation. Start reaching for the hands, the hearts, the voices that help your soul remember where it's going. Because the road may be long, but when you walk it in unity, every step echoes with clarity. There's a moment in every journey when you realize that effort alone isn't enough. You've been pushing, grinding, waking up early, staying up late, and still, it feels like you're barely moving. That can break your spirit if you don't understand the truth behind it. Progress doesn't just come from hard work. It comes when your purpose aligns with your people. You could have the biggest dreams, the deepest drive, the most relentless discipline. But if the people around you are walking in a different direction, it's like swimming against the current. And that's why so many burn out. Not because they're not capable, but because they're surrounded by friction instead of flow. But oh, when your purpose finds its people, when your mission meets those who believe in it with you, that's when the game changes. That's when things begin to move, and you don't just make progress, you accelerate. You see, aligned energy is multiplied energy. When the people around you carry the same fire, the weight starts to feel lighter. You stop wasting energy explaining your vision, defending your path, or dragging others along. Instead, you're lifted, you're fueled, you're seen, you're reminded why you started, and you're pushed to go further than you ever could alone. That's what happens when purpose and people align. Momentum shows up. The walls don't look as high, the setbacks don't sting as much, and the wins feel even sweeter because they're shared. You start to walk with power, not from ego, but from unity. You're not just walking faster, you're walking smarter with strategy and soul. That's the kind of progress that changes not just outcomes, but you. Most people are taught to chase purpose in isolation, like it's some lone mountain to climb. But purpose was never meant to be lonely. It was meant to be shared. The right people don't compete with your calling. They complement it. They don't distract you. They direct you. And when that kind of synergy happens, progress no longer feels like a struggle. It becomes a rhythm. You wake up with clarity. You move with courage. You recover from setbacks faster because you're not picking yourself up alone. That's what purpose, aligned relationships do. They build resilience into your journey. And suddenly, what felt like a dream becomes a reality faster than you ever imagined. Not because you got lucky, but because you got aligned. So if you're tired of moving in circles, check your alignment. Ask yourself, am I surrounded by people who lift my purpose or drain it? Am I walking in the direction that matches my calling? Or am I stuck in paths that were never mine? Because the moment you start walking with people who believe in what you're building, you'll feel a shift. You'll feel the wind at your back instead of resistance in your face. That's when doors open faster. Ideas flow freer, and progress, real progress, becomes not just possible, but inevitable. There's this pressure out there. You can feel it every time you scroll, every time you look around. Do more, be more, achieve faster, win bigger, chase everything, hustle harder. It's exhausting, and somewhere along the way, you start believing that your value comes from how much you're chasing, how busy you stay, how full your plate looks. But deep down, you know something's off. You're tired, not from laziness, but from running after things that don't really belong to you. And here's the truth that sets your soul free. You don't need to chase everything. You just need to align with the right thing. It's not about doing more, it's about doing what matters most. When you find that thing, the purpose that ignites your spirit, you won't need to chase it. It will pull you. The world will try to convince you that success is about running faster. But real success, the kind that brings peace, not just applause, comes when you're aligned. Alignment is when your actions match your heart, when your decisions reflect your values, when your goals don't just look good, they feel right. That's when you stop sprinting from one opportunity to another, and you start walking in purpose. You begin to move intentionally, powerfully, and with direction. It's not that you're doing less, it's that you're doing what actually matters. And that kind of movement is magnetic. It draws the right people, the right moments, the right breakthroughs to you. You stop striving and start flowing. You're no longer chasing, you're attracting. Think of how many times you said yes to something just because it seemed like the right thing on paper, but it didn't sit right in your soul. That disconnection, that's what misalignment feels like. It clouds your vision. It drains your energy. It makes you question your worth. But the moment you get clear on what really matters to you, everything begins to shift. The noise quiets, the pressure fades, the fog lifts, because when you're aligned with the right thing, you stop being impressed by everything. You start being anchored in something, and from that place you grow. Not from fear or comparison, but from conviction. From knowing that you're building a life, a mission, a legacy that reflects you. So breathe. Let go of the race. Let go of the idea that you have to do it all, have it all, be it all. You were never meant to chase everything. You were meant to walk in alignment with your calling. Find what fuels your spirit. Surround yourself with those who speak your language. And most of all, trust that when you align with the right thing, you won't need to beg for blessings. They'll find you. Because life doesn't reward the most frantic. It rewards the most focused. And focus comes not from chasing, but from aligning with the truth of who you are and why you're here.